Graphs model relationships between entities, such as flights between cities or synapses between neurons. Analyzing the connectivity between nodes is an important problem for understanding relationships implied by graph structure. In this video, we introduce two novel visualization techniques that provide an overview of graph connectivity. They are the connectivity matrix and the intermediate node table. We present these two techniques and a prototype implementation of these techniques in a tool we call Graffinity. Suppose we query a large graph for paths connecting the nodes A, B, and C to the nodes F and G. The query returns a graph that contains 11 paths connecting these nodes, but understanding these paths is challenging. For example, a question such as, which of the starting nodes have more connections to nodes F and G is difficult to answer with traditional graph visualization techniques. The connectivity matrix aids this type of analysis. In the connectivity matrix, we visualize properties of path sets connecting start and end nodes. The matrix rows represent the nodes where the paths start, and the columns represent the end nodes. The properties of path sets between two nodes are displayed in the cells. Here, we show the count of paths between each pair of start and end nodes. This visualization provides an overview of connectivity between nodes while hiding information about middle nodes. The intermediate node table reveals information about the nodes in the middle of the paths. It visualizes properties of path sets for the intermediate nodes while also taking the position of the nodes into account. Here, the node D appears in the middle of a two-hop path exactly once, and it appears thrice at the second position in three-hop paths. These two complementary views summarize connectivity as relationships between start and end nodes and display information about the intermediate nodes used in those paths. We demonstrate these two techniques in a prototype system called Graffinity. We present this system using a network of flights in the United States. This dataset contains approximately 300 airports, the nodes, and 13,000 flights, which we treat as edges. The connectivity matrix and the intermediate node table are at the heart of the Graffinity system. In addition, Graffinity also provides an interface for visually defining path queries and supplemental views showing details of selected paths. Suppose we are interested in flights connecting the West Coast to New England. Here, we queried for paths connecting the airports in California, Washington, and Oregon to airports in New England. We limit the path length to less than 2 hops. The connectivity matrix displays the connectivity between these airports. Since airport codes are not very readable, we can display other node attributes, such as the city and states of each airport. We can also show the node degree of an airport, which provides context about how busy the airports are. Since interpreting a matrix depends on the order of its rows and columns, we support dynamic orderings based on node attributes. We can also order based on matrix reordering algorithms. This ordering reveals that Los Angeles and San Francisco are the only airports that can reach the airport OHR in Massachusetts. The intermediate node table reveals information about the nodes in the middle of paths. Here, the linked highlighting reveals information about which paths pass through the airport JFK. We can also see details about the paths passing through JFK using the supplemental views. The path list displays selected paths grouped by their airports. Expanding these paths shows the individual flights and details about their arrival and departure times. Node link views visualize either the path topology when choosing a node link layout or the spatial context when using a fixed layout on top of a map. We can also use the connectivity matrix to answer questions about higher-level connectivity in the graph. For instance, which state on the West Coast is most connected to New England airports? We aggregate airports in California, Washington, and Oregon by state. Each row now contains the union of all airports in that state. Unrolling aggregated rows reveals information about the underlying airports. Notice the different color scales that emphasize the different meaning of the cells. Here, we see one airport is responsible for most connections between Washington and New England. We may also be interested in other properties of these paths, such as how many carriers fly on a given route, or the number of paths versus the length. We discuss a variety of available metrics and visual encodings in our paper. Graffinity was originally developed to study a retinal connectomics dataset in a close collaboration with neuroscientists. Here we show this dataset with 26,000 edges and 13,000 nodes as it was used by our collaborators. More information about this use case is available in our paper.